Rory Kelleher and I'm a team lead with WASART. Tulla was a rescue that we did a number of years ago off Feather Mountain up near Sumas in Whatcom County. Tulla had been stranded on the cliff edge for, we believe, a couple of days. I've heard different versions, and it may be actually a week plus. Nobody knows how she got there. And people that called in were complaining about this dog barking for a number of days. So we were asked to go up and assist with Whatcom County SART to try and find the dog, and we did that. I remember we got there at maybe 7 o'clock in the morning. We briefed the teams. We left the command post somewhere around 8:30, and I'm thinking, this will be 6 hours. We should be back by 3 o'clock. Didn't kind of work out that way. The bigger issue was that we had is we couldn't locate her. Nobody knew where she was. And her barking was actually echoing off the rock face. We eventually found a couple of locals who hiked that area on a regular basis, who showed us a trail up to the top of the mountain and then kind of indicated where they thought she may be. So from there we were able to start rappelling down. We figure somewhere around 700 feet, maybe a little more than that. She was about 150 feet down when we found her. So when you set up your rappel line, you're assuming that you're going to rappel straight down to where the animal is. Well, in this case, that didn't happen. As we got close to her, she stopped barking. I wish she would do that now, but she stopped barking. So I actually rappelled past her. I got about 60 feet down below her, and then we heard this barking again. And I looked up, and she was about 60 feet above me and to my left. So we had to climb the rope, go back up again, and then reset anchors and get about 20 feet over. That was exhausting, absolutely exhausting. And it's through rock face and heavy brush. At that point, she was probably only about 10 or 15 feet below me. Still couldn't see her. Landed pretty close to her, and she was on a little ledge that was on one end probably about 12 inches deep, and on the other end maybe 9 inches deep, and maybe about 8 feet wide. And she had actually burrowed into the cliff edge and made a little nest for herself in there. She was emaciated. She hadn't drank in a number of days, which I think was probably a lot of the reason why she was so small. I was able to secure myself with extra webbing to a couple of tree roots and stuff sticking out of the cliff face, which then allowed me to get a hold of her and get some webbing onto her. So the first thing I did then was tie her onto me, so if she fell, I would still have her. I kind of figured the best way to get her down safely was to put her in my backpack. So I started emptying my backpack and dropping all my equipment down to Ed, who was about probably maybe 30 feet below me. She was just happy to see me, and I was able to stuff her into the backpack and tie the drawstring on the top, keep her little head out the top of it. And she was still on a web harness and clipped into me as well, at which point I was able to rappel down, met the WASART teams that were there, and literally just said, here you go, and just handed her off, backpack and everything, and they took her out and gave her water. We'd given her water up above, but gave her water, and they kind of whisked her away, and off she went to get checked out by animal control and things like that. For the most part, I pretty much collapsed at that point. I was eaten alive. I mean, like, I was literally eaten alive. There was so many insects and spiders and things like that that were in the brush. And I talked to Ed a couple of days later, and he said he was in the same way. Animal control was there. They took custody of her. They kept her for 3 days. And then she was, they called me and they just said, there's no chip in her, there's no collar, nobody's claimed her. Would I be interested in adopting her? My partner Chris just said, well, let's go up and have a look. Well, that was the end of that. My background is Irish. Tulla is actually Gaelic for hill. Considering we found her on a hill, I said, we'll call her Tulla. And I've had her since. So she's a little over 5 years now at this stage. And she's doing great. She goes paddleboarding with me now.
My name is Danny Wickstrom. I'm the former sergeant with the Snohomish County Sheriff's Office that was assigned to the Search and Rescue and Air Support Unit for give or take 20 some years. I would get calls directed to me for animal rescue, and after having had quite a bit of experience with WASART, I got to the point where I just completely turned the mission over to WASART and did not respond to the scene myself unless WASART wanted myself or one of my deputies present. And that's the level of trust that WASART certainly earned with me and with my colleagues without hesitation. And I believe that it was at Lord's Hill at the park, and it was a horse that was stranded in a very, very precarious spot. And it was something that I thought, I can think now that prior to WASART, we would have done our best as far as search and rescue goes to try to effect that rescue. But we don't have the specialized equipment. We have equipment designed for human beings. But our folks have the rigging skills to be able to work on technical steep terrain. And in this particular case, WASART responded very quickly to this call. Very distraught owner that obviously loved her horse, and that horse was in dire straits. And I don't know how that rescue could have been effective without WASART successfully and safely. And WASART showed up there, very disciplined, very well equipped, very motivated, and very calm. And they were able to evaluate the scene, come up with a plan, put that plan into effect. I believe that we had some SAR personnel from Snohomish County that assisted with rigging, but it was absolutely, that was, no pun intended, horsepower to help on the Raise system. But it was WASART that managed that operation and successfully rescued that horse. Probably a very typical routine type of rescue for WASART, but I know that I was and remain very impressed with how capable everybody was and what tremendous kindness that they demonstrated, both for the horse and all the folks that were involved. And that's just a standard WASART mission and experience that we enjoy repeatedly over the years when WASART responds to requests for assistance.
It was December, and it was cold. The horse was standing, but only with help. A few short hours before, that wasn't the case. Anakin, a recently rescued 20-year-old thoroughbred gelding, had been down and was unable to get back up. That's when WASART was called and went into action. We would later learn that this wasn't Anakin's first rescue. Kindly described as underperforming, at the age of 3, he was rescued from a racehorse kill pen. He became a 12-year research participant and student favorite at Cal Poly's Equine Research Center. When funding for the program dried up, however, Anakin had to be rehomed. What followed was a 5-year gap that somehow led him here to Washington. We knew nothing of his history. Anakin was a horse in distress. Using our technical rescue equipment and tripod, WASART volunteers were able to help Anakin to his feet, where the severity of his condition was apparent. His most recent rescue was from neglect. 2 days later, Anakin was down again, and WASART returned to get him back on his feet. Anakin was placed into the care of SAFE, Save a Forgotten Equine, and transported to Cedar Brook Veterinary Care in Snohomish and later Pilchuck Veterinary Hospital for his rehab. These days, Anakin lives a life of well-cared-for leisure. As his new owner says, now, when Anakin lies down in a field in December, he does it because he wants to.
We were at crisis, and I couldn't believe how fast the team got here. My name is Dean Coons. My wife Debbie and I live here at the Rocking Horse Ranch. This is my horse Tango. I call him my internet horse. About 6 years ago, I bought Tango online from a very reputable breeder in Missouri. He's a registered Missouri Foxtrotter. At about 11:30 p.m. on the night of November 27th, Debbie wakes me up and basically tells me, she always does a night check for our horses, and she basically tells me in a frantic mode that Tango's down in his stall and can't get up. We attempted probably for an hour, tried to get Tango up. And it was the most horrible thing I think I've ever seen, to see a horse frantic and unable to do anything but move halfway up and fall. And you could just tell by the look in his eyes, which I know this horse really well, he was scared beyond belief. So of course from that we bring our vet out. Our vet told us about this amazing group of people that were volunteers that would come to help us, and that she would begin organizing that. All of a sudden that morning, I look out to the gate opens, and car after car after car pulls in, person after person, a truck, a trailer comes in. Guys are just like click, 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 organizing, finding a place. There are people coming to attend to Tango. There are people beginning to set up gear. My horse is down. He's been down for probably 10 hours at this point, and I'm just seeing this beehive of activity thinking, how are they going to get this horse up? About that time, I looked out to my front parking area, and I saw these 3 or 4 guys assembling this massive tripod and running ropes to tie off to the trees and the locations. And I'm going, well, that's okay, but Tango's in the barn. The tripod's out here, and I'm just thinking to myself, oh my gosh, how are we going to do this? So they had a whole team dedicated to Tango's well-being, making sure as they loaded him onto a slide, I guess that's what they called it, they slid it under him. And the next thing I knew, Tango's being slid out of the barn and down the driveway, and it's beyond me. At the same time, they had harnessed Tango. They hooked that onto Tango, and all these people get on these ropes, and they start lifting. And he just comes right up. The vet comes, makes sure he's checking his heart rate, making sure everything's okay, he's not panicking. We did give him a little bit of a sedative, I think, just to kind of keep him somewhat calm. But I just think he knew in his eye he was going to stand, and you could just see the brightness, of what was going on come back. So anyway, after a very few minutes, they had Tango raised. We were able to disconnect the tripod. We actually walked him around a bit just to make sure he had his legs under him. And of course, the next step is we have to get him in the trailer, because our vet is telling us we need to take him to Pilchuck. Of course, when he got in, he fell. And they helped us pad him. We put bales of hay around him. We put pads on him. And of course, we loaded him, and off to Pilchuck we go, just as fast as we can get there. So anyway, we kept him at Pilchuck for, I think, a full week, just making sure. He was very dehydrated. We got fluids in him. We got antibiotics in him. He started recovering immediately. From that day, he just got better and better and better. And in fact, this entire summer, we trail ride. We have a lot of rides around our property here. He's very cooperative, he's happy, he eats. We didn't even know about WASART, honestly. Of course, we've just been blessed to never have an issue like this. But trust me, we have told so many people this story. It's amazing for me, honestly, to see a group of volunteers. These are all people that volunteer. There's nobody here for any monetary reason. They're here to help the animal and us. And boy, I'll tell you, I mean, even to the point, one of the ladies saw me probably crying, and I mean, the hug was worth $1 million at that point, right? I didn't know what else to do, right? I mean, I'm just lost. Just observing it, what an incredible thing to see firsthand. And now see Tango he's 150%. He really is. He's happy, and you can tell he's in great shape, and he's just, he's a good boy.
Hey everyone, welcome to WASART's 5th annual Raise the Hoof fundraiser. Tonight we get to take you on an exclusive behind-the-scenes look inside of a WASART rescue. I hope this not only showcases the many layers and complexities involved in a response and why we need your support tonight, but for those of you interested in supporting us beyond tonight as volunteers, the many different capacities in which you can become involved. For example, I never realized that when I had to retire my go bag in favor of diapers and bottles, that I could still remain an active, contributing member of the organization as a duty officer and call coordinator. So before we get started, I'd like to take a moment to mention the people that make this organization worthy of your support tonight. We all know this last year and then some has been trying on our communities for many reasons. Perseverance, caution, safety, and adaptability were just a few of the more common themes of the pandemic. Fortunately for WASART, our members in the field are trained to consider each of these elements with respect to every unique rescue. Our 14th anniversary only proved that this training extends into every corner of the organization, from volunteer management to training curriculum, technical rescue, sheltering, outreach, fundraising, and more. WASART still continues to respond to animals and their owners in need. I want to thank you all from the bottom of my heart for joining us tonight and showing your support, and I look forward to seeing you all out there again soon.
Welcome everyone to the Washington State Animal Response Team's 2021 fundraiser and auction. On behalf of everyone at WASART, we are thrilled that you're here. I'm Leo Notenboom, WASART volunteer, and before we go any further, I want to thank Dean and Debbie Coons, whom you saw as we started. They were very kind to allow me to stop by and video Tango's amazing story and follow-up. Most of WASART will have just seen that video for the very first time along with you tonight, and I can assure you that there are smiles across the entire team. If you've arrived a little late, not to worry, we'll run it again at the end of our event. Now, let me introduce Michaela Eves, my co-host for the evening.
Hi everyone. This year we're doing things just a little different. Besides being online once again, we've curated a collection of 9 donated auction items that we think are extra special. The auction is open right now at wasart.org/auction, and you have a little over 30 minutes left to place your winning bids. We'll talk more about the items in just a moment. Like Leo, I'm also a WASART volunteer, and we're both frequently in the field. Tonight, that in the field is from a studio made possible by our awesome sponsor, Live Oak Audiovisual. While we'd hoped to be seeing all of you in person, tonight we're back online because, well, that's today's world. And on the plus side, hopefully you're all comfortable in your PJs with a fuzzy friend nearby. We'll all keep our fingers crossed for next year though, right?
Absolutely. A quick reminder, if you're watching this live on YouTube, be sure and say hi in the chat. We have one of our fellow responders here in the studio with us monitoring and ready to answer your questions or pass along your comments. In addition to a few stories like Tango's, we thought it would be fun to take you along as we trace the steps of what it means for WASART to be called out, from that first phone call to the cleanup at the end of it all, and hear from some of the voices of WASART's own volunteers.
But first, this is a fundraiser after all. As we mentioned, we do have some great auction items for you to bid on. Bidding closes at 7:45 sharp. We're on a little bit of a delay here.
Technical difficulties, not to worry.
Yes.
Hopefully tonight we'll be able to show you exactly where it is your money is going. In addition to the auction items, you can always just give us money. We're more than happy to accept your direct donations to help us do what we do. You can do that at wasart.org/auction as well. One generous donor has offered to match all direct donations of $100 or more, up to a total of $1,000. So your donation will go even further. We'll be highlighting and thanking you for some of those donations throughout the evening. Hopefully tonight we'll show you exactly where your money goes and why your support is so very important to what we do. Sounds like a call. But before we answer, let's start with our first auction item. To start, one of our members owns a pet-friendly vacation rental cabin up by Mount Baker. She's donated a 2-day stay for up to 6 people, included as a gift certificate to the place next door for pizza and beer, or whatever works for you. We also have an added bonus on this one of a lovely hand-crocheted lap blanket to help warm you up after a day of skiing, made and donated by a friend of WASART. Or, if you like, you can always just give us money at wasart.org/auction.
Almost every rescue starts exactly the same way, with a phone call to our 24-hour response line. Our answering service picks up that call, takes a message, and then forwards it to us. One of us answers, sometimes that's me, but often it's Gretchen McCallum. She's one of our founders here at WASART and is here to tell you a little bit more about how this happens. Oh, hey.
Wait a minute.
That's not Gretchen. Nice try, dogs. Okay, here's the real Gretchen.
An owner calls our answering service, which is a 24/7 number, and the duty officer then receives the call, calls back the reporting party, takes all the information and decides if this is a deployment or if we need to refer that caller elsewhere for other resources. The call coordinator then records a message that is sent out to all qualified responders, asking if they are available to deploy within the hour to a certain location that has been provided by the reporting party.
This is an important message from WASART. If you're receiving this message, you are eligible to deploy.
We have received a call for assistance for a 75-pound husky that is about 35 to 50 feet down a hillside in Arlington. I will need TRT, base support, operations support, and a transport qualified member to drive the box van from Snohomish to the site. If you are available to respond within the hour, please call me, Gretchen, on 253.
That is an automated message. It usually reaches 60 to 70 qualified members within 3 minutes.
We have volunteers all over, and those that can are now traveling and converging wherever the emergency might be, across town or across the state. Even though WASART is 100% staffed by volunteers, what most people don't realize is that even before activating, we've already spent money. The answering service you just heard about costs us about $50 for each call they pass along, and that's whether it's a call we can respond to or not. Many of our calls are often referrals to other agencies better equipped to handle the specifics of the situation, like wildlife issues or even cats in trees.
Once we do activate the notification system, that recording you heard calls or texts each one of us deployable members, telling them there's a call out. And there's another expense, averaging about $75 for each call out. Now, while our team's on the road, let's have a look at another auction item. Hey, Leo, have you ever thought about how great it is not to experience some things?
Absolutely.
We have a couple of items just for that. For bidders in the North Sound, we have 4 hours of cleaning or pressure washing from one of our volunteers. I personally like to save my own cleaning for scrubbing the ropes after we've had them pulled through the mud. This item would be fantastic, so I could do other things like cleaning ropes or equipment.
For those of you in the South Sound, we have a handyman service, also for 4 hours, so you cannot experience the joy of doing a plumbing project wrong and needing to call someone anyway.
That sounds great too. Maybe I should make a list. Though I suspect there is a lucky bidder out there that will get to not experience this one.
So the current high bidder on the Mr. Fix-It is Bruno at $125. And the current high bidder on the cleaning is, there we go. Nobody's bid on that one yet. There's an opportunity. You could jump in there and get it right now. And for the rest of you, if those don't sound interesting to you at all, you can always just give us money at wasart.org/auction. Now let's talk for a moment about exactly what it means to drive to a deployment. Each of our members will be responsible for getting themselves to the scene, but there's more to it than that. Here's one of our transport instructors, Diane Johnson.
WASART relies on one of 2 vehicles to bring our rescue equipment to where it's needed. One is a truck and trailer stored in Enumclaw and dispatches to our more southern callouts. The other is a box van stored just outside Snohomish and is used for our more northerly events. Each contains a full complement of equipment that might be needed in an emergency. Along with being put into service for actual emergencies, both vehicles are used at most WASART training exercises and as part of what we call transport training to qualify our members to drive them safely to where they're needed. Your donations provide the means to cover the cost of gas and maintenance, keeping our equipment in good condition and ready for our next call out.
Ongoing maintenance and, of course, fuels for these important vehicles is another expense we've incurred, and we haven't even arrived on scene yet. One of the ways you can help offset those costs, of course, is to make a direct donation to WASART at wasart.org/auction. We've also got that match of $1,000 towards any direct donations of $100 or more. Waiting is one of the things that's both frustrating and inevitable as people rack up the mileage on their way to the scene. Another way you can help is, of course, to bid high on one of our auction items. So while we're waiting, let's look at another one.
You know, I always wonder what it is the animal sees as we arrive on scene. Like, there are 8 or 10 of us strangers showing up in yellow jackets, and the dog or horse or goat or whatever are just there in a vulnerable situation, sometimes injured. One of our members, Chandra, is an animal communicator and could probably answer some of those questions. She's also written a book about her experiences with animal communication. Tonight, she's donating a session and an autographed copy of the book. Oh, and if you're on the chat on YouTube, please say hi. She's there answering questions and comments right now.
Or, if you like, you can always just give us money at wasart.org/auction.
Okay, so we've been called out, and the team members are starting to arrive on scene. It's time to go to work. Let's look at our 2 most common kinds of call-outs: horses unable to get up and dogs unable to get down. Here's responder Christy O'Lardy sharing a little bit more.
If the scene's up one of Washington's many hiking trails, those that will head up the trail prepare themselves and the equipment they'll take along. That usually means carrying one of our rescue litters, ropes, radios, and an assortment of climbing and hauling gear, as well as safety gear. Once the team's ready and assembled, it's up the trail we go, leaving key personnel to man the base of operations, often relaying information between the team in the field and the folks back home. In closer quarters, say a barn or a field where a large animal is down, we'll drive our equipment trucks as close as is safe and begin the process of setting up the equipment to be used to rescue the injured animal. That can be as simple as ropes and pulleys and as complex as our 10-foot tripod capable of lifting even the heaviest draft horse.
All the equipment you see in use, and a lot more, is part of how you help. It's not cheap, and much of it, like the 26-foot-tall aluminum tripod made for lifting livestock weighing 2,000 pounds or more, is designed and constructed by a specialist exactly for its purpose on our rescues. We also have equipment, as we'll see shortly, that wears or ages out and needs to be replaced.
So far, the slideshows we've been sharing are collections representing the kinds of rescues we do and situations we find ourselves in. We thought we'd like to take a moment to share a longer video showcasing one of our more dramatic rescues from late last year, Jammer, a horse who found himself stuck in a well. Leo, I don't know about you, but there's always some anxiety that comes from watching something like Jammer's rescue.
Absolutely.
Fortunately, we can report that Jammer has made a full recovery and is back to living the good life.
You can see some of the specialty equipment we use in that video, along with a backhoe. We don't always have the luxury of a backhoe on site to help us out. Usually it's just muscle and rope and pulley systems. But our team is well versed in taking advantage of every opportunity for a safe and speedy resolution. Let's have a look at another auction item.
Speaking of muscle, Leo, check this out. Pulling ropes and climbing up and down cliffs isn't the only way to build that muscle. Working out with your own personal trainer is another way.
So forget the workout, right? Talk to me about the cheese. Tell me about the cheese.
Oh yeah, it sure is. Be the high bidder on this item, and you can tell people you got it for the workout, but maybe you got it for the cheese. It'll be our secret.
Or, if you like, you can always just give us money at wasart.org/auction. I feel like I'm repeating myself a lot tonight. Okay, the example team we've been following is on scene and ready to do the work. As we've just seen, it could be the most exciting, the most important, and ironically, often the fastest part of the entire operation.
All right, let's rescue that animal. Rope systems are set up. We've had our safety briefing. Everyone is in place. Here's longtime volunteer and past WASART board president and auction item donor, Chandra Mitchell.
If we're up a trail, once we find the animal and owner needing our help, it's time to assess the situation and take action. It could involve rappelling down a cliff to find the injured animal. Once we find them and get them to a place of safety, we might simply be able to wrap injured paws and help them make their way back down. Or we may need to pack the animal in our litter and carry them. Back in the pasture, we may find ourselves needing to place a large animal on what's called our rescue glide in order to move them underneath our tripod, often using nothing more than the muscle power of the responders. Then, after carefully attaching them, after carefully running lines, and after carefully raising them, we can help them regain their footing. Once we're back at the trailhead, or our large animal is on its feet, it's time for the owner and their veterinarian to take it from there. Throughout all this is where the compassion and training of our volunteers really pays off. Be it the safety of the people involved or the well-being of the animal, WASART volunteers prepare for these rescues and many others like them all year long.
So, the animal's safe, the owner and the veterinarian are attending to its needs. That's a successful call-out, a safely accomplished resolution, and an owner with their animal back. But of course, we're not done. Not even close. And neither is our auction.
Leo, both you and I have dogs. You have some adorable corgis, and I have a very food-motivated Rottweiler. Next to that cheese item, I bet she'd really love to get her paws on the Lake Union experience. It's a boat cruise with ice cream. She may not be excited about the boat, but she'd let it slide for some of that ice cream. Also with those items, you get gift certificates for Metro Dog for services like dog walks, or this would come in handy if your dog eats too much ice cream, pet first aid classes. And it looks like the high bid is Rochelle Dickens.
Yes, Rochelle Dickens, so you're on tap. Now, if you're interested in this item and you want to slide in there, now's your chance before the time runs out. And of course, if you like, you can always just give us money at wasart.org/auction.
Where have I heard that before?
I don't know.
Before we move on to what happens after a rescue, here's Michael Cook, with a WASART and a search and rescue volunteer, describing his first call out with WASART.
My first rescue was pretty intense. I hadn't expected to be the attendant on that. And so when they sent me over the edge with all the equipment I needed to be able to rescue Chloe, it was pretty intense. Aaron was there, like making sure I had everything ready, and going down to Chloe, that part was easy. Like it was trying to get over down trees while you're getting lowered, and all the stuff that is the hard part, but you've already trained for that part a lot. And getting to Chloe, that was where she was hurt and she was just upset, and trying to kind of convince her that I was there to help. and get her in the litter without hurting her, get her in a harness without hurting her any more than she was already hurt, and tie her down so that she couldn't get out. That part was the stressful part because I wanted to be helping and not doing any more harm. And then bring her back up to her family. Like, she was so happy to see her mom, and it was so good to hear that she was going to be okay. Like, I was invested, you know? So yeah, it was really good to hear that she was doing okay.
Michael ends on something that's very easy to overlook. WASART volunteers care. We're all here in part because we truly care about the animals we're asked to help. After investing ourselves in a rescue, we absolutely love to hear how everything turned out, especially when, like Chloe or Tango or Jammer, it all turns out well.
You can imagine that after any call out, we have a collection of very tired and often dirty volunteers. Job one, of course, is to get them home safely. That's often a very long drive and even extra work for the folks driving the WASART equipment vehicles, since they've got to take them all the way back to storage and then make their way back home.
And we're still not done. There's washing, and of course, there's paperwork. Bill Dugard tells us more.
Since WASART is associated with King County's Department of Emergency Management, within a certain number of days we're required to submit an after-action report detailing how the call-out played out. And of course, there's the equipment that's been used and dirty that needs to be inspected and cleaned. Typically, the day after a call-out, there will be a cleaning party, just as exciting as it sounds, where volunteers get together and properly clean and restow the equipment used. To be fair, it actually is a fun time to hang out with your volunteer friends. But this brings up another expense we need to deal with: wear, tear, and safety replacement. After repeated use, both in call-outs and in training, equipment often needs to be replaced. More importantly, after being put under stress, the ropes and equipment we use to send people over cliffs get an extra examination and have to be replaced more frequently. When your life literally depends on the ropes you use, this is where you don't want to skip.
Now this is where your donation makes a life-saving difference.
We did mention this was a fundraiser, right? And I think someone may have just mentioned just donating money at wasart.org/auction a time or two already. But in all seriousness, this is one of the best ways you can help us accomplish our mission. I don't think we've mentioned it yet, but your donation is tax deductible too. Replacing our equipment can be expensive, but those costs take a back seat to safety every time.
As mentioned in the video, climbing ropes can only be used so much before they need to be replaced. We might regularly replace over half a dozen ropes a year, averaging $300 or so each. We were pretty selective with our set of auction items this year, so if you're missing out on anything or don't see something that's for you, that donation is very much appreciated. Buy us a rope or a phone call, or even just a couple of gallons of gas for the vehicle bringing the equipment. It's the closest thing to being on the rescue yourself. Bid high on the next item, and you'll be helping to keep our volunteers in the field safe.
Speaking of fun and safe, our next item is the Keeper Jeep Tour from Northwest Trek. It's a tour with very limited seating, only 6 people, so bring your friends, and an animal keeper at Northwest Trek will tell you about some of the great behind-the-scenes stories having to do with the wild animals. Hey, Leo, do you suppose people could just give us some money?
Yeah, you know, if the tour doesn't work out for you, or you get outbid, you could just give us some money. wasart.org/auction. So, everyone's safe at home, responders and animals alike. Even the paperwork's been filed and the equipment cleaned up. You think we're done? Of course not. While we've walked you through at a very high level exactly what it means to go on a call out and the various steps involved, it's all for nothing if we're not prepared. For WASART, that means training all year round. Here's Kimberly Taylor, our training director, with more.
Training is at the heart of all we do at WASART, not only to help make our call-out successful, but more importantly to keep everyone, our responders, animal owners, and bystanders alike, safe throughout the entire operation. Our responders must complete basic training, known as Base and Operations Support Training. This training teaches important skills, including the various roles and responsibilities of WASART responders, using WASART equipment safely and effectively, the various characteristics of the call-out scenarios we deal with, and dealing with animals in distress. Many of our members go on to more advanced training and practice in rope handling, climbing, water rescue, and much more. Practice is a key word when it comes to our training. Just as one example, our technical rescue team meets monthly to exercise those all-important skills handling rope and rescue work when their lives and the lives of the animals we rescue might literally be on the line. In addition to training for the rescues we're most known for, we also regularly come together to run through one of our other important scenarios, sheltering. Earlier this year, we saw WASART deploy twice during our unprecedented heat wave to set up cooling shelters for our local residents' pets. Be it heat waves or Eastern Washington wildfires, WASART trains regularly, so we're ready to help where we can.
So we're about 10 minutes away from the end of our auction. And let's take a little bit of time and look at where we are on all our different auction items.
So Leo, I have some bad news for you.
I know, I want to run over and get my phone.
I know. No, you have to stay here. Please don't leave me. WASARTs never leave each other alone.
I know.
But you have unfortunately been outbid on the cheese auction. However, I can offer a compromise. I have some craft singles at home. I can send you those in the mail, and I can Google some exercises to send you too.
Oh,
so,
thanks. Thanks much.
Yes. Yeah, no problem at all.
So one of the items we haven't talked about so far tonight is actually a WASART regular, a perennial favorite, and that's the paella party. That is actually put on by one of our members, his family actually, and they come out and they will cook for you a paella dinner, be either vegan or vegetarian or not at your choice, at a time that you and they negotiate. It looks wonderful. If you take a look at the picture on the right-hand part of the screen there, you'll get a sense for exactly how much food you might be looking at it. Have you done this?
I have the picture on the screen actually is from one of our holiday parties, and they came out to give us a sample, and that's how you get hooked on these things. They bring this giant pan out, and everybody helps. And there's a big tradition with paella where you do it in a certain order, and you talk about things that you're grateful for, and then they spend a bunch of time cooking it, and then you just make sure everybody brings these bags, and they can fill it with paella. Otherwise, it will live in your fridge or in your freezer, and you will enjoy paella for a very long time afterwards.
Sounds wonderful. Current high bidder is Rochelle Dickens at $310. If that sounds interesting to you, by all means, go in there and outbid her. And of course, I think I've said it a time or two, you can always just send us money. Also on our auction items is a Whidbey Island vegan experience. Michaela, can you tell me more about that?
Sure. We have a veterinarian who lives on Whidbey Island, who is, she's a WASART member. She does a lot of cooking, and she has offered to make a bunch of dips and sauces and stuff and put them in a basket and deliver them to you in this lovely handmade bowl that an artist has donated to us from Tacoma. It's the bowl that's on the screen. It's made out of 176 little pieces.
Yikes.
So I am not. I think I'd probably run out of glue before I ran out of patience on that one. But it should be nice.
Awesome. Also, let's go ahead and bring up one of the other ones. So, bring Fido to Lake Union ice cream and cruise and the Metro Dog gift cards. That's one we did talk about earlier. Currently, it's at $151. Honestly, the cruise itself, all by itself, with or without your dog, don't get me wrong, I mean, you bring your dog, but not all dogs are interested in this. The cruise itself is worth every penny. It's such a gorgeous, gorgeous area that you get to go around and take a look. I'd strongly recommend, if this is at all interesting to you, this is one you want to jump on. Like I said, it's at about $151 right now, and that's a steal.
I would add to that the gift cards that come with it and the first aid classes that you can take. I've taken a number of pet first aid classes throughout the years in trying to keep up on that sort of skill set for the animals that we are around. And the one that Metro Dog offers is probably one of the best. Cool. And they've got like a little mannequin that you can practice CPR on and all kinds of things. It is something I would definitely recommend.
And that's another donation from one of our WASART members, Larry Fosdick Davis. Let's see, the Mount Baker Cabin Stay has been an interesting one this evening. We've been seeing several people outbidding each other. There's a real bit of competition going on with that item. Right now, it looks like John Mercer is in the lead at $590. You can imagine it's quite a ways up the Mount Baker Highway out of Bellingham. It's actually past Deming some distance. It's perfect if you're a skier and you want to head up to Mount Baker for some skiing. What the description didn't really mention is they talked about pizza and beer, but this is the Northwest. It's craft beer. It's the good stuff. So there's a local craft brewery very close to where this cabin happens to be, and that's part of what this package includes. Again, John Mercer's currently in the lead at $590, but you know, outbidding John, I love you, but if somebody wants to send us some more money, by all means, please outbid John.
There was a question on this item earlier about whether or not it included the cleaning fees and all that. So the owner is making sure that is all waived. You will not owe anything, unless you have like some crazy times with your dogs, and then that is between you and the owner.
Let's see. So we've talked about the cheese, about Baker Cabin Stay. House cleaning or pressure washing? Wouldn't we all like somebody to do that for us? When we started putting this auction together, we were thinking about experiences, things you could do. But these two items, the cleaning and one I'll talk about in a second, are about explicitly avoiding things to do. If you don't want to clean your house, if you want somebody else to do it for you, we have a WASART volunteer who's offering to donate her time to make this happen and come clean your house or pressure wash or do whatever it is you're interested in having her do. 4 hours of house cleaning or pressure washing is what it's listed as. Currently, I believe it's at, it just moved. Where'd it go? There we go. It's at $160, so it did come up a little bit. By all means, that, again, 4 hours of house cleaning, $160, I could tell you, is another steal. That's a real bargain. So by all means, if that's something that you're at all interested in, jump in, make a bid, bid high, bid often. And of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't say, you can always just send us money. wasart.org/auction. And then the south sound, what we've got is Mr. Fix-It, somebody who is willing to come out and do a bunch of fix-it work for you. Now, you were saying that you might have a list for somebody like that to do.
Oh, I have a list. It is such a great list. I am very much, I'd be looking forward to not fixing a garage door opener and not fixing a fence post that I have that needs to be repaired. How about you, Leah? What would be on your list?
So we're in the midst of a remodel, and as it turns out that one of the delivery people took out our mailbox. So it would be really nice to have somebody come out and repair that, especially since it was my neighbor who put the mailbox up and it looked awesome, and now it doesn't. If those kinds of things appeal to you, if you've got something that you think needs doing at home that you're just not up to or not interested in doing yourself, this might be the item to you, Mr. Fix-It. 4 hours of household repair in and around your home. And that is currently at $150. Again, a bargain for a lot of these kinds of things. If you were to go out and find somebody, quote unquote, retail, you'd be paying a lot more. So this is an option for you to get some help around the house, get something fixed, and help WASART as part of the plan.
One of the things that I wanted to mention about the cleaning service, that I think is pretty great, is that let's say that you have I don't know, maybe delayed cleaning for a bit, and or have some extra things, or have company coming for the holidays. That's great. Meg, who has donated this, is also offering $35 per hour extra if you need her for extra time.
Oh, cool. At which $35 an hour is also a bargain for this kind of work, absolutely. And then, of course, we have to mention Chandra's animal communicator item, the book that I showed you. I put it aside here, but the book that I showed you by itself is absolutely worth the money. But if you've ever wondered exactly what the heck your animal is thinking, this is something that you might want to look into. Chandra is known about this clearly. She's a published author in this field, and it is something that might be very interesting. It's currently at $100. If this sounds interesting to you, 110 could get it. 120 could get it. 110 actually would annoy somebody else in the room here with me, so we might have a little bit of a fight. But by all means, if this is at all interesting to you, make that bid now. And of course, I have to say it again, if none of this sounds interesting to you, you can always just send us money. wasart.org/auction has a donate button. So how are we doing on some of these items? The Mount Baker cabin has changed hands. John is out of the lead. Marion Sunday is actually the winner right now at $601. We're closing in on $745. We're about 3 minutes away from this being over. Let's see, the Northwest Trek Jeep Tour is at $400. The Paella Party is up to $400. Thank you very much for that. Bringing Fido is still at $151. Again, the boat trip alone is worth it. The fact that you can bring your dog along with you is wonderful. Somebody just made another bid on the cheese. Diane Johnson is currently in lead for the Beecher's flagship cheese and personal training sessions. If it weren't for me being here on stage, I'd probably be sitting over there with my phone making another bid for that cheese. We love Beecher's cheese.
Yeah, that stuff is made, I think, down at Pike Place Market. When you go down there, you can see the big vats where they're making it, and it's an award-winning cheese. Really great.
Yep, I love that stuff. In fact, there's a smaller block in my fridge right now. I'd love to replace it with a bigger block, but Diane's got that one for me.
Tell me about the exercise equipment that you have that is going along with that small block of cheese.
I have corgis. Chasing the corgis is my exercise.
Yes, that seems reasonable.
Let's see, the Paella Party's at $400. The North Sound house cleaning is up to $160. The Whidbey Island Vegan Experience is at $400. Again, if that sounds interesting, now's the time to get that bid in. We're getting down to the wire here. We're about 45 seconds away, and we are, we got another bid coming in now for the Fido Lake Union at $151, probably a little higher there. Let's go ahead and, let's see.
Are you trying to figure out if you can run and make that last bid on the cheese?
I'm trying to. So do remember, we are on a delay. So when we tell you there's a bid, you may already have been outbid. Make sure to pay close attention to the items you care about and keep on bidding until the very last minute. Remember, the higher you bid, the more you help WASART, in addition to increasing your chances of winning the item that you're after. Uh-oh. Looks like we've got an announcement that the time is almost over. We're going to go ahead and do a countdown. Remember, we're on a delay, so it's probably too late, but here's the countdown from our end. 5,
4,
3,
2,
1. We're done. The auction is closed. I want to thank everyone who participated. Because of the delay, this may or may not be final, but here's who we see in the lead as we come to the end. Marion Sunday, the Mount Baker Cabin Stay.
Diane Johnson still beating you out for that cheese.
Let's see, Catherine Pettengrill for the Northwest Trek Keeper Jeep Tour.
Jennifer Lynn for the Paella Party.
Lisa Dugard for Bring Fido Lake Union Ice Cream Cruise and Metro Dog gift cards.
Yeah, she's also gotten that house cleaning service. Awesome.
Bruno Bonamici, South Sound Mr. Fix-It. Sounds like that's going to be a really good fit.
Gregory Robin, Whidbey Island Beacon Experience.
And Penny Drost gets the Animal Communicator Personal Session autographed book. Yay. I may have mentioned it a time or two, but if you missed out on the auction items of your dreams, you can still help WASART by making a tax-deductible donation at wasart.org/auction.
Before we go, we want to thank you, of course, for being here. Thanks to our sponsors, Live Oak Audiovisual, for the use of their production facilities and expertise to pull it all together.
Thanks again also to Debbie and Dean Coons for letting us share Tango's story. If you'd like to share Tango's story or any of the videos we shared tonight, you'll find them on the WASART YouTube channel, probably tomorrow, to be honest, which we'll link to from the Raise the Hoof page on wasart.org.
A very special thank you, of course, to all the WASART volunteers who make this possible all year long. And thank you again for being here. We look forward to seeing you, hopefully in person, next year.
Before we show you Tango's story once again, for those that might have arrived late, I want to leave you with a few words from Michael Cook, whom we heard from earlier. Good night, everyone.
Is there anything else you would want to say to people?
Join, volunteer. I feel like I've gotten a lot of second chances in my life, and I think that both the people and especially animals, they all deserve that second chance, and so that's why I volunteer.
We were at crisis, and I couldn't believe how fast the team got here. My name is Dean Coons. My wife Debbie and I live here at the Rocking Horse Ranch. This is my horse Tango. I call him my internet horse. About 6 years ago, I bought Tango online from a very reputable breeder in Missouri. He's a registered Missouri Foxtrotter. At about 11:30 p.m. on the night of November 27th, Debbie wakes me up and basically tells me, she always does a night check for our horses, and she basically tells me in a frantic mode that Tango's down in his stall and can't get up. We attempted probably for an hour, tried to get Tango up. And it was the most horrible thing I think I've ever seen, to see a horse frantic and unable to do anything but move halfway up and fall. And you could just tell by the look in his eyes, which I know this horse really well, he was scared beyond belief. So of course from that we bring our vet out. Our vet told us about this amazing group of people that were volunteers that would come to help us, and that she would begin organizing that. All of a sudden that morning, I look out the gate opens, and car after car after car pulls in, person after person, a truck, a trailer comes in. Guys are just like click, 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 organizing, finding a place. There are people coming to attend to Tango. There are people beginning to set up gear. My horse is down. He's been down for probably 10 hours at this point, and I'm just seeing this beehive of activity thinking, how are they going to get this horse up? About that time, I looked out to my front parking area, and I saw these 3 or 4 guys assembling this massive tripod and running ropes to tie off to the trees and the locations. And I'm going, well, that's okay, but Tango's in the barn. The tripod's out here, and I'm just thinking to myself, oh my gosh, how are we going to do this? They had a whole team dedicated to Tango's well-being, making sure as they loaded him onto a slide, I guess that's what they called it, they slid it under him. The next thing I knew, Tango's being slid out of the barn and down the driveway, and it's beyond me. At the same time, they had harnessed Tango. They hooked that onto Tango, and all these people get on these ropes, and they start lifting. And he just comes right up. The vet comes, makes sure he's checking his heart rate, making sure everything's okay, he's not panicking. We did give him a little bit of a sedative, I think, just to kind of keep him somewhat calm. But I just think he knew in his eye he was going to stand, and you could just see the brightness, of what was going on come back. So anyway, after a very few minutes, they had Tango raised. We were able to disconnect the tripod. We actually walked him around a bit just to make sure he had his legs under him. And of course, the next step is we have to get him in the trailer, because our vet is telling us we need to take him to Pilchuck. Of course, when he got in, he fell. And they helped us pad him. We put bales of hay around him. We put pads on him. And of course, we loaded him, and off to Pilchuck we go, just as fast as we can get there. So anyway, we kept him at Pilchuck for, I think, a full week, just making sure. He was very dehydrated. We got fluids in him. We got antibiotics in him. He started recovering immediately. From that day, he just got better and better and better. And in fact, this entire summer, we trail ride, We have a lot of rides around our property here. He's very cooperative, he's happy, he eats. We didn't even know about WASART, honestly. Of course, we've just been blessed to never have an issue like this. But trust me, we have told so many people this story. It's amazing for me, honestly, to see a group of volunteers. These are all people that volunteer. There's nobody here for any monetary reason. They're here to help the animal and us. And boy, I'll tell you, I mean, even to the point, one of the ladies saw me probably crying. And I mean, the hug was worth $1 million at that point, right? I didn't know what else to do, right? I mean, I'm just lost. Just observing it, what an incredible thing to see firsthand. And now see Tango he's 150%. You know, he really is. He's happy, and you can tell he's in great shape, and he's just, he's a good boy.